Welcome back to Mediums in Action with me, Martin Litwilson, and my good friend and expert medium, Ian Doherty.
Hello, everybody. Hiya, Martin. How have you been this past week or so?
Been enjoying podcasts. So there's been some really good podcasts out there. One of them is the Battersea Poltergeist, which is a BBC production. It's very unusual. It's not like a paranormal group's done it. It's done by a presenter who is a believer skeptic. The whole podcast is kind of done as part dramatic. So there are actors in there acting particular scenes. And then there's two experts, Evelyn Hollow, who is more believer and is a parapsychologist from Scotland, and your good friend, Kieran O'Keefe.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's been not a bad series. I'd recommend if people like ghosts and poltergeists. This is a classic case from the 1950s about a poltergeist case that lasted for 16 years. And there's multiple witnesses. There's a lot of experiences. There's twists and turns to the case and some recent developments, which are really interesting. And I think what I'd say to everybody is don't take everything on face value, especially in terms of the results that they get from certain experiments. But the only letdown I found with it, while it's very good detail in the case and about experiences in the home and how poltergeist activity can happen, the biggest letdown for me was they go on a ghost hunt with a well-known paranormal investigator who claims that she's had 20 years investigating the paranormal when she's only been around for about 3 or 4 years. And she calls herself the haunted doll expert. So, straight away, as soon as you know that, you kind of think, yeah, all right. You know, haunted dolls are, just made up from the Ed Warren, obviously the Warrens from The Conjuring and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's some strange decisions to the whole thing, but I've actually enjoyed it, and it made me question what poltergeists were. I like to be probed. Kind of. I like things like podcasts to make me ask questions about the phenomena. So
I think it's healthy, isn't it? Rather than being blind, you either reaffirm your original finding, or it spurs you on to find out what else could be there, and then that itself opens up more, doesn't it?
I think it was a bit like I watched it and it made me question certain things, not question in a negative, but just say, am I right to believe this, or actually that's interesting? Can I take this further in investigation? And there was a couple of points in the Poltergeist podcast that made me question how poltergeist phenomena manifests, and also how that, how that is in relation to modern day to our physics. So I think it sent me on a road there, which so that's why I appreciate it. Although I'm not happy with certain parts of it, at least it made me question. And the production overall was really good. There's some good actors in there. Toby Jones, who's a well-known actor, a British actor, he's in there, and it's really good, really good.
No, I think it's nice. I've always said, if you can't question your own beliefs, why are you following them? I do. I just get the sense, I'm a bugger since doing my science with William, bless him. I just want to know more. I want to know why it happens. How can it happen? Can we replicate it? If we can replicate it, is it paranormal or just one of those things that happens? I know that sounds about a bit of random statement there, but if we can create something like, without going off the topic too much, like orbs, we can recreate them at will. So I don't see them as paranormal, and I wonder whether programs like what you just mentioned could, if you can replicate stuff, then does it have a paranormal thing?
I mean, it's interesting. I've been looking at kind of asking the question, what is evidence, and does evidence exist? And this has been something I've been looking at. We've had tape recordings, and we've seen photographs, and we've seen videos and everything like that. And I think firstly, I don't think you can photograph a ghost. I really don't. I think the videos and photographs, I think it's a bizarre thing. I think we take a lot of things on face value, and
definitely
we're probably missing the paranormal activity that is happening, even though we're recording it. Now, I have caught shadows, and I've caught unusual things, and it's normally been shadow. In fact, there's that Gallows of Justice one, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I was going to bring up, Martin. Sorry for interrupting you. The thing I was going to bring back up. Perhaps we're seeing the result of the ghost, not the actual ghost. I.e., casting a shadow on the wall. So what that means is it dense that light can't pass through, so it casts a shadow. We're seeing the after effect rather than the actuality.
Well, it's like the webcam footage that I took at Bodmin, which was really intriguing because I've talked about it before. I think it was recording for 5 hours while we were vigiling. There was nobody in that area. Couldn't see anything. And what we used to do is allow people to analyse the footage themselves. And the guy said, I got a bit fed up after the first half an hour, so I fast forwarded it. And then I noticed something. And quite clearly, you see shadows of multiple people walking backwards and forwards. Now, this was taken in the top room of Bodmin Jail, which, there's no light being cast in there. There's a little bit light from outside, but there's nobody walking past the window. There's nothing that could have caused it. And it looked like a crowd. So I talked to the owners and they said, well, actually, in the 1970s, it was a nightclub for 2 or 3 years. So it was like, well, this looks like a nightclub.
No, I just find it fascinating how that could happen. Is it an imprint because you've got various emotions going on, happiness, sadness, whatever, and could that sort of cause that sort of imprint there?
I think the thing is as well is why it wasn't necessarily visible when he was watching it in real time. It was only when he turned it to 1.5 you actually saw movement that was very similar to human movement. Was just, as I say, I just wonder if there is, shall we say, there's a difference in continuum or time between a ghost and ourselves. So there's no real photograph that I've ever been ultimately convinced of.
No, that's the thing. Sorry, Martin. The thing is that was coming to me there was, could it be an echo? Like radio frequencies when they're being sent out will have.
I know what you mean. You mean it's got like a resonance that kind of. It's almost like if you made an explosion in a quarry, it would echo round and it might come back round again.
A harmonic. If you've got a frequency of 1 kilohertz, it will be repeated at 0.5, 0.25, and then at 2 and 4 and 8. That is like a ripple, but you can get, if you're trying to listen to something on one, if you tune it up to a different one, then sometimes you can get that, or you can catch it, So maybe we're having part of it, not the actuality, but a representation. Maybe that is less powerful, but it's still there. So perhaps we're seeing it off center even.
That's really interesting because one thing I do believe in is EVP. I mean, I'm a big. I think there's ways and means of catching EVP, which we've talked about in the past, using Faraday cages or to rule out kind of outside sources, that sort of stuff.
Taxis.
And we played some of the EVPs that we've had before. So I do think somehow we're able to record EVPs, and again, there's no way of understanding if these are echoes, as we've just discussed, or whether it is actually happening in reaction to us. And that's some of the things that I've been thinking about this year is just about what is evidence, whether I do honestly think we should move on from maybe things like video and stuff like that. I know everybody goes out to a haunted location and they're filming, and I mean, it's great to capture poltergeist activity and stuff like that, but you never capture the stone moving, do you? Because it's moving too fast for the frame.
It's always the after effect of it, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the amount of screaming I've got recorded over the years. I always remember in Glastonbury in the Georgian Pilgrims, I was recording and I was above another team who was underneath us, so we was being very quiet because it was floorboards. And suddenly I had the biggest scream in my life and then shouting. And it was the people underneath. And they were petrified, absolutely petrified. So I ran downstairs that I knew they was with the medium. And I said to them, what was up? And they went, oh, my God. I said, what's up? So we were all sat there quite quiet and it was quite warm. And suddenly we was aware that there was a head floating in the bathroom.
Yeah,
they got the bathroom door open. The medium said that she said, I believe there's something there. I can sense something. And suddenly, very clearly, they saw this head appear, this blue head In fact, the men screamed louder than the women.
Yeah. Always the case, isn't it? Bless.
But it's one of my favourite EVPs. Even though I'm not recording ghosts, I'm actually recording a bunch of people screaming. But what intrigued me about that, and the reason why I mention it, Ian, is why would a ghost appear blue?
Do you know when we used to have these big flashes of light, didn't we? And we couldn't make out where they were coming from, but they had a blue nimbus to them, when they were weaker, Yeah. And maybe, like I say, you've got to look at, if it's a darkened condition, then we're only looking with our rods rather than your cones. And nighttime, you always notice fast movement and straight lines. That's why in the military you're taught to move slow, and you've got disruptive pattern that blurs your outline. Maybe looking at the way that the colour is presented through the visible light spectrum, blue being quite quick, obviously red at the bottom, violet at the top within that, then maybe it's to do with that spectrum, that frequency of the energy. And William has said to me that the physics that we know, E equals mc squared, doesn't correlate to the spirit side. It's different. So maybe it's to do with the frequency slowing it down, perhaps in our sort of visible physicality, as we are sat on a chair, stood on the floor, leaning against a wall. Maybe it's coming through and the frequency is quite not there, so it represents as a part of the visible light spectrum, not its whole, and you only get a sort of it's like having a filter on your camera. You see a facet of it rather than its whole.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. So blue, is that a fast moving colour, did you say?
Yeah. You have red going up to violet, so obviously blue is closer to violet. So it's generally, even though it's very, very marginal, light 186,000 miles a second. So you're looking at red. That's why they use infrared, or they use a red light when physical mediumship. You're looking at the transfiguration of a medium. It caused less impact. The blue is a lot quicker, and we're trichromat. We have blue, red, and green. When people see, we have three major cones: blue, red, and green. Perhaps it's a reflection of the same frequency, and we only notice it with one of the cones rather than the three.
Again, talking about blue, I remember at Ordsall Hall, there was an incident there where a blue orb appeared. We're not talking orbs on photographs. We're talking a physical ball, a sphere, appeared. That was blue. There's countless traditions in British ghost lore in that there are radiant boys, which are boys who appear in a blue light. They appear in blue, and blue is often seen as, there's a lot of ghosts that are attributed to appear as blue or possibly green. So I'm just intrigued. I'm wondering if there's this podcast has inspired me to think actually maybe I need to be looking at blue a little bit more and see why.
But the thing is, sorry Martin, we see colour because of light hitting an object, breaking it into its parts, and we see those parts through the cones, which are red, blue, and green. So if that frequency meets up to where we're only seeing it with part of our eye, and therefore it turns up all blue, maybe that's something to do with that, or frequency, or both. If people have a greater understanding, would listen to this, then it'd be nice if you could put something in, postulate it, or help us and our viewers or listeners to perhaps understand it more.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I worked with the Ghost Hunters International team, name dropping there. Yeah. When I worked with the Ghost Hunting,
when I was
when I worked with them, and there was Barry Fitzgerald, who I kept in touch with for quite a few years, and Barry Fitzgerald was an Irish paranormal investigator, and he was heavily into full spectrum cameras, which kind of showed the full color spectrum rather than kind of seeing it was almost like an infrared type camera, but it was kind of highlighting all the colors and stuff like that. And I mean, that was a thing at a time, where people again try to crack the ghost mystery, which I don't think we will ever crack as we think we will. But it was interesting, again, color as a perspective of analysing ghosts. And I mean, thinking of my own ghost experiences, I was plagued by a poltergeist when I was younger, and I used to see a white hand, and my son's also seen that hand. And
Saying, yeah.
Yeah, and that was a almost like a porcelain white hand. And the last time I saw that was at York Stonegate, and I
Yes.
remember, in fact, it's you kind of switched me
Yeah.
onto it. Was that hand not actually anything to do with Stonegate, but the hand that I experienced as a child?
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I've been meditating on that since. But so yeah, it's interesting about colours and about how things kind of. So yeah, definitely linking in with that. But
The eyes, I think it's a multiple. I think we're looking at built-in facets here. Well, not so much layers, but perhaps we're just able to see a facet of the whole, and we're seeing part of it. The thalamus light, for instance, images are split into 7 layers, and they're all over the place. And the thalamus puts, first of all, they're all upside down. It's all a big tangle, and they're sorted out in the various higher cortical layers of the brain, and we're able to make sense of it. So perhaps we're only seeing one of those images, and therefore that image is blue or green, and then if you put all the rest on, it'd be full color, as we're seeing, as people do watching the telly, etc. You know what I mean? So I think it's a little bit that we're seeing snippets of the whole rather than the whole.
It's interesting because I had an experience at Dudley with 30 other people, where we had that girl manifest, and that started off as sounded like a sweet rapper, and it became very, very apparent that actually it wasn't a sweet rapper. It was that static electricity,
yes,
sparking. It seemed quite cloudy and misty where it was, and suddenly there was a head and the shoulders.
Wow.
Of a girl with black hair and a red dress and a choker, like a choker chain type thing, like a black lace sort of choker chain. How she manifested wasn't anything like the colour, the orb or anything, something else. So again, what I think the questions you have to ask yourself is, why is it different? Why is that manifestation different to this manifestation? Yeah. Is one spirit led and one actually a resonance, a recording? Whatever you want to call it, it was the other one spirit, was the girl spirit. And
I mean, when you look at it, black, red, it's all the colours are there, whereas the other ones isn't. So yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see why. Is it like I say, is it energy led? Are they getting the energy from the people there? But I just find it fascinating, particularly when I think the correlation is when it's dark, isn't it? There's not much light there. Think about it. How is that person seen in a darkened room wearing a red dress? What is behind the fabric? What is behind making it up, making it real to us?
The thing is we wasn't in pitch black as well. It was because it was early dawn, and it was in the summer and about 6 o'clock. So the sun was kind of sneaking under the back door of the Undercroft. So it was slightly lit up, but so it wasn't like she was lit up. There was definitely the sparks, the like static, and then she manifested. But unfortunately, her manifesting and then suddenly everybody going absolutely ballistic, screaming.
Yeah.
There was like a probably 3 to 5 seconds of her being manifesting, and I have no doubt if we'd have sat quietly longer, she'd have probably fully manifested. She was certainly, how I would describe it is almost like if you were walking down a darkened road and you've got lampposts and you saw somebody walking up in red and black. She's wearing red, but you can't really tell if it's a bright red or dark because you don't know if it's the light. So it was like that, but she definitely had dark or black hair. But it was really interesting. Really interesting. It's the reason why I asked about the blue was I was just wondering if it's some sort of, again, another vibration, like you were saying about the sound vibrating through like history or vibrating through time, or like you were saying with harmonics.
I just don't feel. I don't mean to make a pun here. I just don't feel we've seen the whole picture.
No.
There's definitely something missing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely it's weird. And one thing about Dudley, what was interesting was obviously that August weekend, which we hit on straight away. We knew. I think we went. I think we went there 5-6 times on that August weekend, the last August weekend, and every time we would have the sounds of guns being launched, being sounded, cannon fire.
It shook the floor. The floor was vibrating.
That was interesting. Ghosts have always been classed as being anniversary ghosts. They appear on the day of their death and that sort of thing. And that dates back to pre-1600s, when most people didn't see Roman ghosts or historic ghosts, but actually they saw the ghosts of their family. And the family would usually return on their birthdays or the year of their death. So that's where that anniversary ghost is. When you have activity in your house, I mean, sometimes, I don't know, I don't know about you, but I've been having a few bits and pieces.
Yeah,
this metallic sound. It sounds like something metal being hit, but it's very random. I've not found a pattern. I mean, have you been having experiences as well?
I have. I find it fascinating because I question afterwards, what mood was I in? Was I angry, joyous? Was I sullen? Was I giggly? Just I work it out to say, well, am I the cause? The latest spat I had, I was now I've got one cat of my own, and I look after 3 others because their owners are absolutely rubbish at doing it, and they all seem happy with me. And I was in the front room. I put the telly on mute, and I was just about to walk into the kitchen to sort of look at getting me dinner started, and I heard this big noise. The cats jumped. I had two in the front room with me, and they both jumped and they looked towards the kitchen. So I thought, well, that is where I heard it from. So I went into the kitchen, and it sounded like somebody was moving an empty cardboard box, but a big one. Doing that echoey noise, and somebody dragging it. And I thought, that's weird. So I thought, is that outside or is it in the kitchen? And then straight away, bang, straight in the kitchen. And I went, it made me jump a little bit, as in I wasn't, not scared. So I thought, I bet it's a cat stuck in my cupboard. So I opened the cupboard, nothing. I checked out the back side, out the back door, in case anybody was in the neighbours making a noise. Closed the back door, and it was bang again from the room, from what would be me bathroom. So I went up there to check it, and then nothing, And then I had a big flash of light in my bedroom, and I had a cat. I was talking to my partner at the time on the phone, and we heard a little meow, and yet and I knew straight away it was either Ross or, as I call him, Ross and Ninja, and I knew Ross was out. I put my torch, turn my phone to have a look in the bedroom, and there was only one cat which is Maggie, and he has a very, very deep meow, and very rarely meows in that honesty. So I went looking for the other cat, and he was fast under the spare bed, absolutely flat out. So it couldn't have been him. I didn't feel anything on the bed. I didn't hear it jumping up or down, and I'm just, what the hell's going on? I'd just be interested if other people, listening to this podcast, have you read anything that you can't rationalize? Did you check it out? And if you had, could you please share them?
Yeah, I think also as well, I think since we've had lockdown, lots of people say, no, they've discovered that their house is haunted.
Yeah.
Where I think we said before that we were quite skeptical that actually what's happening is you're just getting used to your house. You spend 8 hours out of it. You don't realise that certain things creak or settle, with sun and temperature. So you suddenly think that your house is haunted. But I do think that there is, possibly an increase in paranormal activity because certainly, people have become, or certain quarters of people have become more empathetic,
yes,
more in touch with their emotions, and also probably more aware of their surroundings. So
yeah, definitely.
So it'd be interesting, yeah, if you've had experiences, let us know what kind of experiences you've had, and also if you found any sort of design to them. Is it happening every particular Wednesdays, or is it happening at a particular time? I'd be really interested to know if we're having, if a lot of people are having experiences at this moment. Would be really interested. And let us know what colour it is as well.
Yeah, but in the past, Martin, it always used to be Wednesday with us too, didn't it? We'd always have something happen on a Wednesday.
It was like a tag team at one time. It was like, if I used to say to you, have you had any activity? And I'd say no, and then I'd stop having the activity, and then you would have it. But
it was very much that way.
It's been a really strange year with Spirit for me. Right at the beginning, I was having a new guide coming towards me. We're working more with Joseph, which I've mentioned.
Yeah.
And it's weird how he came into my life, and I just wonder if it was sort of spirit sending him before sort of lockdown and all of this.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
it was really interesting that that's tied in with him. To me, he came into my life just when, and my relationship got really strong with him just before the lockdown. And I'd say over this last 12 months or so, he's definitely been a rock for me, where I can meditate, I can ask him questions, and but yeah, I would say there's a quiet confidence to him. So I think that's why I kind of get on with him, because if I don't think I could deal with somebody like William with an authority. I'm not an authority following person. So yeah.
I think William would be interested in that terminology, but he's very scientific, matter of fact, and he was a sir, you know, so
yes,
he was knighted, you know. He's just a lovely person, you know. He'll help me understand things if I haven't got a clue. I don't know what this means, and then the answer comes. I thought, oh, that's what it is, you know.
Yeah, it's I don't. I'll be very quick before we leave. But are you, Ian? Have you seen recently? There's been a number of really interesting pictures from a Spanish spiritualist society.
Yes.
They've been absolutely cracking. And some of the photographs relate to manifestations of mediums from the UK as well. And there was one recently, and I wanted to ask you a question. I don't know if you saw it, and it was Marjorie Crandon with a voice box created from black teleplasma.
Yeah. I did look at it, and I have witnessed a couple of physical mediums, you know, and I was just fascinated by the way it was all forming out. But I've never seen a voice box in that way. From talking to Spirit, they always say it's like, for instance, if it was to form a face, so you could see a face, as in when you are looking at transfiguration, where the face changes to a person of a loved one, then it's a mask that is about, say, about 3/4 of an inch away from the medium's face, if you view them directly side on, so they can breathe, and it sort of comes down over the voice box, and that gives the sustenance for that person to then talk, you know, through that ectoplasm manipulated by spirit to form a reasonable resemblance of the person as they would have sounded in physical life, so they can be recognized. And the way that they put to me as a voice box, it's not static to the medium, you know. It can be almost like, you know, like the when they first developed, they have a trumpet which is luminescent on either end, so you can see it move. Well, they have a voice box which is ectoplasm, but it appears in midair. You can't see it, but you can hear the voice coming from it. So the only way that I look at the voice box, or that I've known as a voice box where it's purely voice, was away from the medium. So I've never seen it this way.
I'll share the picture on the Essentia too.
Yeah, please, Matt.
Because I think there's nowhere on earth that's cheesecloth.
No, it isn't, is it?
It's a really interesting website, and I'm interested. I think, if I remember correctly, a lot of it's archive photographs, and they're showing physical mediumship from the 1880s right through to the 1940s, and it's interesting because you can definitely see when something is really fake. There was a couple of things the other day where there was two hands manifesting behind a medium. Now, somebody I know said, "Oh, it's quite obviously fake." I said, "Yeah, but look at the right hand," and the right hand hadn't manifested. Yeah. It was jointed up. It was almost like webbed in between, as if the hand hadn't actually fully manifested yet when the photograph was taken.
Yeah.
How and why would you do that?
That's,
if you was faking two hands, you'd have two hands just right there.
Of course,
but the right hand, it looks almost flat, but it's unmanifested where the left hand is.
But unfortunately, in today's society, you look for the wrong first before you realise the right. You know what I mean? You look for what's wrong.
They shared another photograph the other day, and it was a man who went to a medium. He wanted to communicate with his brother, and the picture showed a full manifestation of somebody. And the guy said that the brother said, "Yeah, that's my brother." But the interesting thing is, now this rules out that it was fakery somewhat. They'd even got his French Legion badge on the left-hand side where he used to wear it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, even the greatest fakers wouldn't have known that,
Well, that's it. But how has the badge got there? How has the clothes got there? How have they fashioned it? I just, I would have loved being a fly on the wall. Maybe not a fly, but you know what I mean. To be privy to what was happening. It'd been fascinating. You know.
It's interesting because the first time I looked at it, I thought, oh, that's a fake man. But then I read it and I thought, well, hang on a minute. If this is correct and this is true, then this is interesting about, again, it goes back to what we started with, about the nature of evidence, the nature of manifestation. Question, but be prepared to, keep your mind open. I think that's what we say, isn't it?
I think you have to, when they say they're manifesting their guide, and when you go to a psychic artist and you have a painting of your guide, then you're thinking, well, how do I know he's my guide? How do I know she's my guide? How do I know whatever? But when you go to a physical stuff and they draw, or you see your brother stood there, you're thinking, well, it's got to be him because that's bloody him. You know what I mean? Yeah. And when they have all the little bits, then it's somebody that you know, and you definitely, that's them. That is sort of evidence, like talk about evidence of giving readings. And I thought, I was quite pleased with that. And I said to the person, was that okay for you? No. I said, what was wrong? You didn't bring me dog through. Seriously, but it's when you provide evidence, it's whether the person wants that evidence or what evidence means to that person.
Yeah, I mean, it was like ghost hunts where we'd have the most active night, and it was like, did you enjoy it? Yeah. Yeah, but this happened. Oh yeah, no, we came to see a ghost. Yeah, we were happy. Yeah, but you've seen the non-physical interact with the physical. You've seen something that transcends modern scientific explanation, and you sat there as if your local football team's just lost 10-0.
Yeah, I know. That wasn't Liverpool, was it? No. The thing is, Martin, I was at the Oak House one time, and there's this woman, when we're just having a walk around, one of the female guests, she was going, I said, pardon me, darling, what's up, please? Can I help you? So, I've been here for half an hour. I haven't seen a ghost yet. So I said, look, there's no guarantee. We'll do this. We'll see what goes on. A little while later, we went up to one of the small of the two bedrooms. One's got all the carpet and the dummies in there, and we would all close the door. And then from the other room, which wasn't anybody there, you heard bang, bang, bang. She was the first to scream, run. She pulled the hoods off two people, pulling them back so she can get out that door, So while she wanted evidence, when it was presented, she couldn't handle it.
Nothing as strange as people. Says us, two ghost hunting mediums who believe in life after death. If you can't laugh at yourself, what can you laugh at?
Oh, that's it, mate. Definitely.
That's it. So please let us know if you are having experiences at home, what kind of experiences you've had. Has it been at a particular time? We might be able to do some interpretation of what experiences you've had.
Yes,
Maybe we could tell you what we think Spirit might be telling you. Please let us know. You can either email us or you can message us through our Facebook page, and we'll be happy to keep your information confidential. But if you let us know what experiences you've had, we'll try and do a bit of an explanation, try and work out what's happening for you. So please, do get in touch. Please carry on reviewing. We've just hit 101 reviews on our podcast, which we are immensely proud of. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
And if you would like to support the podcast and everything that we do, you can buy us a coffee. The link's on the podcast. And you can also buy us a coffee through Facebook. Everything helps towards the production of our free content, our podcasts, and our monthly live streams as well. So thanks very much again, Ian.
Yes,
I really appreciated the
Martin,
chat with you. And bit on a tangent, but it's I think it's all connected in one particular way anyway.
Yes, it is. But yeah, it's been lovely chatting to Martin, as it always is. When you say you get questions, you've got the way of putting things over that gets me to question. So thank you. And
I think we both do that to each other. We push each other's thinking about the subject, and I think that's a really positive thing. And we try to encourage that with everybody who listens as well, don't we?
Yes, indeed. But thank you everybody for listening.